Morning class. This is Tuesday, May 5. This is the North Fork Shenandoah River in New Market. We're right next to the airport, and this is a little river survey that we're going to take this morning in class. And when we're finished with the river survey, we will actually sample the water. We will actually test the water for water quality. I've collected a sample from the river, and we're going to spend just a few minutes kind of assessing the river bank, its flow rate, anything that we can observe and see as we look at the river. This is what we're doing for the next 3 or 4 minutes. So as we check out the North Fork Shenandoah River, we're looking upstream. Which means we're looking up the stream toward West Virginia. Most of this water comes out of Rockingham County to the west of us, from up into the higher lands, over towards Broadway, Timberville, and beyond, onto the West Virginia plateau. So one of the things we want to do when we do river assessment is to look at the river bank. And so we will look at the river bank here from the upstream side, and then we will also look at the downstream side. And so I'm standing on the bridge and looking along the river. We see a lot of vegetation growing. You do see that the river appears a little bit low, although the river is quite wide here, and there's plenty of room for the river to expand or to fill after a heavy rain. We do see primarily dirt riverbank on this side. There's a sycamore tree, and I don't know if you can see it very clearly, but right there are a few roots beginning to be exposed at the base of that sycamore tree. That's notable. We also are wanting to look down the bank on the other side. The bank on the opposite side is actually quite steep, and so there's a lot of vegetation on that side. All up and down the river bank there's vegetation growing. There are roots exposed all along the entire side of the riverbank there. Not large roots, but roots of some of the small plants and some of the small vegetation. And let's just take a look at the flow rate here. We're looking down into the river from the bridge. We're about 25 feet, maybe 30 feet above the river right now. It's about 6:30 in the morning. You can see into the river. You can see that there are rocks about a foot below the surface over there, and looking straight down, you can see there is some glare on the water, but you can see into the water. The flow rate is pretty good. You can see a lot of little white clumps or bunches of whatever that is in the main stream of the river. And over to this side, again, you can see that the river, you can see down into the river, and you can see that the river is flowing quite well. Let's move to the other side. This would be the downstream side of the river. Again, here we're looking down we're looking downstream towards Quicksburg and towards Means Bottom and the covered bridge. Again, not much different bank condition on this side. Again, a lot of foliage, a lot of vegetation growing along the riverbank on that side. A lot of vegetation growing along the riverbank on this side. Quite a number of places where roots are exposed. It's a little dark looking this direction. The sun's just starting to come up, but you can see along the bank on this side, there's a tree right there that is actually, its trunk is actually in the river, in the water, and there's another one a little further beyond its trunk is in the water. On this side, we do see a little tree right here that is pretty basically all of its roots are exposed, and it's trying to hang on to the bank. And so take one quick look at the flow rate from this side. It was from this side of the bridge that I gathered the sample. In fact, right where I'm standing is where I gathered the sample. I don't know if you can see down into the water right there, but there's a lot of green algae. Well, a lot of green matter under the surface of the water right in here. If the sun were a little higher, I think you'd be able to see it a little better. But there's definitely a green hue all up and down up through here. And then again, looking over here, the flow rate's pretty good. See a fair amount of what appear to be soap suds floating down the river this morning. Okay, so we'll take a few minutes with your team. Let's talk about what you've seen and share your observations, and then we'll sample the water.